right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Thanks for sticking with me till this talk. I do not have slides. I'm just going to do a little bit of demo, ask for some questions. Let's see, while I'm getting set up here, who in the room has heard of Particle? Okay. How many of you have actually own a device? Okay, all right, cool. So I'd call that like a fifth, a quarter of the room, something like that. Good, that helps me anchor what I should talk about here. So I'll just introduce myself. I am the founder and CTO of Particle. We're an Internet of Things platform. This is our website, particle.io. You can go there, find out more information. We are the most widely used IoT platform out there. We serve everyone from hobbyists, students, artists, individual engineers, people building a robot with their niece on the weekend, as well as companies small and big. We have a lot of contracts with big companies that are making devices connected to the internet using our platform. This is everything from consumer devices in homes and to agricultural, industrial, medical, health equipment. So we play at the platform layer, and the individual applications are up to the people creating devices on our platform. Plenty of startups on Kickstarter building connected devices where we solve their connectivity problem and their fleet management solution, you could sort of say. Yeah. So let's see. That's a bit about me, a bit about Particle. I think I should just dive into it. The thing I'm here to talk about today is the Electron, which is our cellular IoT dev kit. We've had devices out there for a few years now, the Spark Core originally, which is a Wi-Fi dev kit, and then later the second generation product, which is loads better, called the Photon. And then to help you scale, if you prototype something with the Photon and you want to take that thing to scale, we have, I should use the website here. If you prototype something with the Photon, you can then scale up, commercialize that with some modules that we sell that have our firmware built onto it, and they connect to our cloud immediately upon connection. And then now we also offer the Electron for cellular. It is, let's see, I saw, okay. The Electron looks like this. I was imagining this meetup being a little bit different, so I'm not going to be able to quite give the demo that I was hoping for. But if you buy one, it comes in a box like this, a little box. It's got jokes on the packaging. It comes with a SIM card. Particle became an MVNO in order to simplify the process of building IoT products. Too often, if you want to, you say, I want to make a connected device. How do I do that? Okay, I am going to make my hardware. Great. How do you get it online? You have to pick a radio. Lots of possibilities there. Meshing, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular, some of the more sub-gigahertz things that are out there, helium, Sigfox, etc. Lots of options. So when companies go to try to connect a device to the internet, they often have trouble even getting past that initial barrier to figure out how am I going to do this? What's the right connectivity mode for this particular device? That's often up to the creator of that product, but a pattern that I see is that generally in home automation, in the home, and sometimes in healthcare, Wi-Fi is the thing. The device is usually reasonably powered. You can leave it on a lot of the time. It's plugged in. It's reasonably stationary. It's staying within Wi-Fi range, and that's a really reliable connectivity that you don't have to pay direct data costs for. For a lot of other things, cellular is the way to go. And so this is the next area of IoT that Particle wants to help tackle. If you want to monitor the flow and watch for leaks on a pipeline in the middle of nowhere, cellular is probably the way to go. If you want to do some smart city applications, imagine all of the dumpsters throughout San Francisco. How many dumpsters are there? None of us in this room could accurately estimate that. It's a huge number. Right now, and for the last several decades, the city of San Francisco sends, or at this point it's waste management, it's outsourced, but a company sends trucks on a regular rotation where they drive by and lift up every single dumpster out there. What if you connected every single one of them to the internet so that you knew when they were full, you knew which ones were full, which ones were empty, and you only had to drive to the ones that were full? How much money would be saved? It's huge. That kind of solution needs cellular. You can't just stick up a Wi-Fi router. Like how would you connect every single dumpster to Wi-Fi? That doesn't make any sense. Cellular is the right solution there. It's one of a few potential right solutions. There are others as well, but cellular is the one that is available here and now. You can deploy it. It will work. Let's see. We're here to help you. Does anyone have questions? I can show a whole bunch of tools. Yeah, go for it.
1 second. Here.
Yeah, recording it soon.
How is it powered?
Sure. Okay, when you buy an Electron and you are prototyping, it comes with this battery. Somebody asked me how many milliamp hours, and I don't know. I would have to go to our documentation and find out. I could do that. You go to docs.particle.io. There are data sheets at the top. Shields and kits, the Electron data sheet. What's here? Let's see. Actually, it's probably in the kits. It says, here's what you get in the box. 2,000 milliamp hour LiPo battery. So it's got a LiPo battery. It's got a JST connector. I'm just going to plug my Electron in right now, and we'll watch it connect. We'll see how close to that 60 seconds it is. So flashing green, if you have a photon, you know that flashing green means connecting to the Wi-Fi router. In the cellular context, flashing green means it's connecting to the cell tower. I have certainly seen times like that. It depends a lot on the circumstances. This particular Electron is a 2G model. We sell 3 different models. There's a 2G, and then there are 2 3G models for different bands in different parts of the world. 2G, fun fact, 2G in the US is being phased out next year. So if you go to store.particle.io and you want to buy an Electron and you plan on being in the US for the next year or so, buy a 3G one, don't buy 2G. I was at home. This works fine for me at home. I was actually thinking as I went out the door, I was like, oh my, I hope there's a 2G signal at Mozilla. So we'll see. It is still connecting. It's still flashing green. So that 60 second does seem like a reasonable time frame at least. Oh, there we go. So now we got on the cell tower. Now we're connecting to Particle servers and doing our handshake. Particle has built-in security from the ground up across all of these things. We have REST APIs and a device protocol that is optimized for low bandwidth solutions. You
want to take another question, Zach?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, hello. Fantastic little demo there. I have got your Wi-Fi version, and I put it on the internet, or it went on the Kickstarter, so thank you very much for going for the 3G straight off the bat. At least that's the kit that I got. So I've got the kit. I haven't actually powered it up because I'm keeping it until I've got a whole bunch of other stuff that I've done. So it's like my little prize that I'm getting there. So my question is on that, can you talk a little bit about your libraries? Because they're absolutely fantastic. And in the Wi-Fi one, I just got going and had some options there for connecting to ThingSpeak. But it really seems like you've put a lot of thought not only into the hardware, but into just to the ecosystem of getting that data through to somewhere.
Sure. Thank you. Great segue. Thank you for helping me move the presentation forward. We provide, in addition to the hardware, cloud connectivity, and then a whole suite of tools to make it easier to build these tools, and then also scale up and manage them if you make a product at scale. So let's see. I'll just go through a handful of the tools and let me know if I don't answer your question. So this is a quick view of Particle Build. It's our web IDE. When you first get started with Particle, you go through a setup process, which I will do here in a moment. That was one of my goals. Make sure you actually see how easy the setup process is. It dumps you out at the end into this IDE, which is the easiest way to write very simple code. It's like Arduino. You write a setup function and a loop function. The setup gets called once. Loop then gets called repeatedly. It's super easy. Our firmware, however, is completely open source. And in fact, 5,000-ish commits, 153 branches, 59 releases, 50 contributors. There is a lot of activity in the Particle firmware. It's completely open source. This one firmware repo supports all of our devices. So let's see. We have the tools, like the dashboard as well. You can, as a developer of a working with Particle device, you can see your list of devices. If you are a business making a product based on Particle, you can see the customers that you have associated with those devices. So those are your customers, not our customers. This is one of the funny things about playing at the platform layer, where if you make a product built on Particle, you're making a connected device. You are getting great value out of what Particle provides to you, but your customers don't need to know that we're there. So you provide them an experience. You provide them an app, which we have mobile SDKs for iOS and Android and Windows that make the process of building an app for your product much easier. We have a list of devices. You can see real-time logs of events. You can create webhooks to other systems. So if you want to put your data into some other system, lots of them out there, including IFTTT. This is the way to do it. We're going to be building this page out more soon to make it a little more one-click and less with less configuration required for each individual webhook. And then in cellular land, you also get you have a list of SIMs and the devices that they work with. Did I answer your question? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Are you ready for another?
Yes.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering whether you have any sort of way to use the Electron almost as a hotspot for the photon, because that would be awesome.
It's a common use case. So the gentleman is asking about the fact that we have the Electron. It's a cellular device. We have a photon, which is a Wi-Fi device. What if you could do what your phone does with tethering using a photon and an electron? We don't have any easy way to do that right now. One could certainly build a device that includes both of those two things wired together, for instance, a serial connection between them. There would be a simple way to get to an MVP there, but nothing easy for that right now. Yeah.
I think we got another one.
So I guess you've talked a little bit about this, but not a lot. But I think the byline on your website or something right in the middle is like from prototype to production, yeah. Which is really cool. That's a really cool goal. I mean, I don't know necessarily because I haven't designed a ton of products. I'm like 20 years old. But I'm assuming that at some point there's going to be trade-offs made in terms of product design, mostly again in terms of flexibility at the prototyping stage to, I guess, scalability at the mass marketing stage. I guess, how do you sort of handle that as, I guess if I was consumer service and I simply used it as for, a Kickstarter, a business, something along those lines, I guess, would you, if I was to create like a mass market product, would I still be using like a photon or electron board? What sort of changes, I guess you mentioned a little bit if you have customers versus your own personal devices, are there other, I guess, changes that are made, I guess, to the hardware, to the software, anything along those lines?
Sure. That's
a great question. And going with that,
yes.
Do you have services and the facilities to kind of take people to that next level?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that addition there. So It's a great question. IoT is still so nascent. Everyone in this room is like, yeah, IoT, no problem, I get that. But what IoT actually means is still so ambiguous. And every single product creator is envisioning a new possibility. And this is it's a journey. The question what you're asking about is a journey that every product creator making a connected device has to go through. Per the gentleman who has the project on Kickstarter right now, the second speaker, they're a small team. They've got it up there. They're making it work. You have to make these trade-offs where early on you get to the MVP as fast as you can, and you get it in front of people. So for that kind of case, you want to use, for instance, the Photon. It's $20. It fits on a breadboard. You can prototype with it so fast. You can get something working immediately. You can show people a demo is worth 1 billion words. Rather than giving a pitch to somebody, just saying, look, here it is. It works. From there, if you can get enough traction, if you can get enough people to say, yes, that's a great idea. Like you actually have a market fit. That's actually something I want. That's the stage to start thinking about, okay, now I have to cost it down. One of the problems, though, is that people often, one of the problems that Particle solves is that several years ago, there were no solutions like this that could take you from prototype to production. So if you take the original Arduino, 8-bit ATmega 328P, it's so easy. There's a great ecosystem, tons of libraries, and you build a prototype on that. When you want to take that to scale, you will throw that design away and start over. The hardware and the protocols, the firmware, the way the firmware is designed, the way the cloud connectivity works, and the management tools that you have at your disposal with Particle are the same ones for the prototype that you can use all the way to production. Now, that said, it's a really hard problem to get actually to scale. And to raise this question, Particle offers, we have a customer success department and a professional services arm that if someone is working on a product and they need some help, they can come to us. We can hook them up with engineers, design firms, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, people that are sort of vetted by us to know our platform and to have enough reasonable understanding of the IoT space to help you get there quickly.
Cool. I think we have another question over here.
Very simple one. Will this work outside of the US as well? Do you have to buy another SIM card or?
Great question. We offer cell service in more than 100 countries. If you go to particle.io/cellular, I think is the URL. There is more information here. We're a carrier. It's fully integrated. And down at the bottom, you can search for the country that you want and see who the carrier is, what the rates are, because there are different rates in different zones. The pricing for the US is at least, this is the pricing when you have one. If you make a product and you buy more than one, call us. You're not going to pay $3 a month per device if you have 10,000 of them in the field. But yeah, so $2.99 per month, and then 99 cents for each additional megabyte is what you do when you're prototyping in the US. If I have no idea, I'm clicking on Argentina, same zone, so it's $2.99 a month, and and the operator is Telefonica. I go to India. The operator is Bharti. It's $3.99 and $2.99 for each additional megabyte. So it varies around the world, but self-service all over the world. This is one reason that we did 2G and 3G GSM, is because covering the whole world was one of our primary goals, because we have a lot of customers who are not in the US. And another, on that note too, Twilio, great company. They had a conference just last week. Their big yearly conference is called Signal. There was a big announcement. My co-founder was on stage with the Twilio CEO and the COO of T-Mobile. They made a big announcement. This was in Apple's, sort of the Apple keynote. There's always one more thing right at the end of the keynote. So the one more thing at the Twilio keynote was that Twilio is essentially going to be using us as their main hardware provider, and we're going to start using Twilio SIMs in the US later this year. because Twilio is starting US only. They plan to roll out further in the world, but they've got great APIs, a great developer community. We really look forward to working with them.
Very cool. Congratulations on that. We have another question over here.
Thank you.
All right, double-barreled question for you, and I'm not sure if the first barrel was unfair. Lots of internet devices today, nanny cams, security systems, and so forth, are being broken into,
right,
being hacked. So question one is that part of your prototyping considerations? Do you have considerations for security? And the second barrel is, what are your thoughts in general about how security needs to be considered for these connected devices?
Sure. Great question. And it is I'll answer the second one first. It needs to be considered at the heart. Good encryption, confidentiality, integrity, authentication is table stakes for IoT because we're hearing too many things being broken into. This is in the DNA of Particle. Everything that we do is secure has been secure from day one, from the ground up. The Electron in particular uses, end-to-end, the device-to-cloud communication is secure. Every device has its own key pair, and on the API side, it's REST APIs, SSL only, TLS only. Everything else that we've considered, the Wi-Fi setup process, where you have to, tell the device your wireless password, but you're doing this wirelessly. So you're like, how am I wirelessly telling a device that does not yet know my Wi-Fi password? We made that process secure as well. So we care deeply about security. It's one of the big problems that we solve for somebody who is creating a product, because if you're creating an IoT product, you need to be thinking about this from the beginning. And even if you're creating a home project, you might want to think about it as well. You might be sorry later that you didn't. And we take care of that for you because that stuff is hard. It's something that it takes a certain kind of expertise that most people don't have.
Thanks, Zach. I think we have another question over here.
Great.
So, you did mention that currently you've managed to solve a lot of problems where the devices were concerned, and there's not really anything out in the market very similar. But looking at the product, it does seem that sooner or later this would be commoditized.
Of course.
So how do you foresee, what would be your differentiator? What's the unique value proposition here? So today, yes, agreed, maybe there's nothing.
Right.
But since you're also using an open stack, and so it doesn't look like there is some barrier to entry for anybody walking in and creating another device. So how do you address that?
Sure. The barrier to entry, the added value, the real added value is how end-to-end we are. We actually understand what it takes to make a full IoT product, and it's not just hardware. The hardware is totally commodity. That's one reason that we're comfortable being so radically open source. The hardware designs are open source. It's on GitHub. The firmware, completely open source on GitHub. Our CLI, open source on GitHub. There's even an open source version of our server. So many of our things are open source. Because while copying any one of those things would take some work, but not be that hard, copying any one of those things doesn't get you anywhere. It does not create an IoT product, and it does not create an IoT platform. One reason that the IoT is taking so much time to actually take off, where there's this chart that maybe some of you have seen, the hype cycle. So there's like, oh, IoT is all at the top of the hype cycle, but it's going to be a while before it actually becomes a reality, is that the expertise required to actually create an IoT product, there's no team out there. There's no pre-existing team or company in the world that has all this expertise totally nailed. It requires, in big corporations, many departments working, completely siloed in lots of institutional ways to work together, or a completely new unit to be formed to actually be able to think about mechanical engineering and product design, industrial design, to think about the electrical engineering, to think about the firmware design. Firmware people have not, encryption not on the CVs of firmware engineers typically. Connectivity, radio, like maybe, but what that means when you talk to a cloud service, what jobs are appropriate for running on the microcontroller. By the way, those things are like real time when you need the thing to work when it's offline and you need a fast response to the customer. It's got to be on the device. Analyzing the data, understanding what it means, helping a user act upon that, push that to the cloud. So learning for any given product, learning where the right place for any piece of logic lives is not something that anybody has expertise in these days. Like this is a new field. It's a new kind of distributed system with many different layers of potential computing power. The cloud services, we provide so many, and I won't just keep on listing things, but there's a whole bunch of value that we provide in the cloud, and then also development tools to make these things. We have an online IDE, we have a downloadable IDE that's a fork of Atom, we have the mobile SDKs because every IoT product ends up needing a mobile app. We have command line tools to help people, the manufacturing side too, helping people provision these devices on the line, helping them securely generate keys for each device, get them into the cloud so that nobody can spoof this device as part of your product. The real problem, the real value add is the end-to-end nature of the solution.
Thank you for talking about the open parts of Particle, and it kind of leads me into a question that I had about carriers and people being successful using Particle products and then wanting to go into production, let's say. And is Particle a partner that people have to stick with while they go into production? Is that cloud platform part of the whole experience? Or is there a way to start with Particle and end up autonomous?
Sure. I would say, so one, yes, part of our value that when we're making a sale is we say a lot of this stuff is open source. If you have a big contract with us, there will be software escrow and all the typical things that go into contracts with big companies. But because of the architecture, because of the open source nature of a lot of the low-level pieces of the stack, and because of the architecture of the cloud side, we make it super easy. If you find some other partner that you want to migrate to in the future, yes, absolutely, it's possible. You then have to take away some of what we do and find a way to manage it yourself. Over time, some companies may be able to do that. We think it's not very likely. We haven't seen it yet. But I will say it's a big selling point to big companies to, when I go speak to a CIO of some, insert big consumer product company name here, it lowers the risk for them. It's a big deal that we can actually show them that there is a path to migrate off. You're not stuck with us. If you build that expertise internally, which if I were one of these CIOs, I would do. This is the thing. If IoT is going to be so big, you need to build this expertise to actually have a genuine stake in it down the road. But these days, companies don't have it, and we provide a way to get them online now.
Cool. Thank you for addressing that. I'm not sure if there's anything else that you wanted to demo or anything, or if there's any other questions.
Let me walk through the setup. This is just something, so I want you all to know when you leave here tonight, you can go to store.particle.io and buy a 3G Electron. The 2G price will be a little lower. It'll be tempting. Don't do it if you want to use the thing next year. So you come to setup.particle.io. You say, okay, yeah, great. Set up an Electron with a SIM card. Click Next. Let's set it up. Make sure you have this stuff. This all comes in the box. The Electron, a SIM card, a battery, an antenna, a USB cable. Great. You need to enter the SIM card number. I'm going to pull this out because mine's sitting in here. And when you, this is actually, these because I have these scattered around, these are actually two different SIM cards, but the number is printed in a more easily readable format there. To work with this Electron, I'm going to have to type in this tiny number. If you're using a mobile phone, you can actually scan the barcode, which makes this easier. Because we have a Particle app that has a setup process on it for cellular and Wi-Fi. 8934076500025894422. All right, we hit next. They say, this SIM's already been activated. This is the step where you would enter a credit card for the data at this point. This SIM's already been activated. Go ahead and put it in the SIM, they say, or in the Electron. Just a little SIM card holder on the bottom, no problem. Attach the antenna, I've done it. The battery, the USB cable. One reason we say the USB cable is we don't know when we ship it. When it arrives at your door, is the battery charged up or not? So you need to plug it in so that it will actually work right out of the gate. And then wait for it to connect. So I'm going to smack the reset button. And I suspect that timing we saw earlier will be quicker now, because there are some things you can do to make it faster where you save the credentials. There's connection information to the tower that if you've connected recently, you can get back on pretty quickly. But perhaps rather than staring at a blinking green light, we can take more questions while I wait on that to connect to the server.
What are one or a couple of your favorite projects you've seen, like DIY?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's see. One of the most common ones is people connecting. There are two types of entrances to the home that people are like, God, I wish I could just open that from afar. So buzzing people in, like to your apartment, that kind of thing. One of our investors, actually, that was like the first thing he did with a photon. He went to his apartment, like he has a place that he leases on Airbnb, and he it's in a bigger complex, but he made the photon so that it could do the thing that buzzes people in. Opened up the box for the apartment, stuck his thing in there, wired it together, and shut it back. The landlord, as far as I know, doesn't know this. So when people go to the place, Airbnb, he can just hit a button on his phone or give them a code that lets them do it from their phone. So buzzing people into your apartment, something like that. Also, garage door opener, being able to be at work and be like, did I shut the garage door? I don't know. Pull out your phone, look at the app. Okay, no, it's shut. Or if it's not, shut it now. So there was that. Then there was sort of a fun. Here's another one. This got actually a lot of social media love last year, I think it was. Let's see, what's it called? War driving. Do people know what war driving is? You go around and you gather a bunch of all the Wi-Fi data that's around. You figure out what the Wi-Fi networks, not data, but the networks that are available. And so this guy made a project called War Kitty that was a war driving cat collar. He put a photon on there, and it just went around. Just as the cat walked around the neighborhood, he just scanned his neighborhood for open Wi-Fi networks, and he came home and downloaded it off the flash card. So that was a lot of fun. There we go. So this has connected to the server. At the bottom right there, it says, wait until the LED is breathing cyan. I'll click next, claiming the Electron, and it says, almost done, just name it. And we have silly names. Undefined hacker, that's kind of a fun one. I'm going to keep this one named.
That's my username. How did you know that?
Maybe it was War Kitty. Let's see. I'm going to just keep this one named Mose. And, oh, that's really funny. That shouldn't be an error. How about Mose 2? Because it doesn't like it being the same name. I'm going to write that down. When you get, that's finished with the setup. That's as easy as it is. You can now work off a battery. You can throw this in your car, and it's going to keep its connection as you drive around. We have an asset tracker shield that's a lot of fun. We had that at Maker Faire last weekend. When you get to the end of the setup process, there's a lot of really great information that is then presented. You'll see this Start Building button at the bottom that's grayed out because we want you to read these next several tips. One, the Electron actually uses data. Please be aware of this. Your plan includes a megabyte of data per month. We give you tools to monitor the usage. We've done a lot to help you use less data, and there's a data guide where you can go read more about that in our documentation. And then you can do things to save data too. Some of the things it mentions are flash firmware offline instead of over USB. You can really quickly go through your data cap if you're flashing firmware over the air, which is it's a very useful feature. And sometimes if a thing is out in the field and you're not near it, that's how you have to do it. But if you have the device nearby, do it over the wire and save yourself the data. And let's see. Don't worry, we're here to help. Start building. And then it's going to dump me out to the web IDE.
Okay, another question.
So could you use one photon device to flash firmware of your other photon devices through USB? Is that a possible option?
Yes and no. Yes, that I know how I would build that, but that's because I know the firmware reasonably well. We don't provide any easy way to do that right now at the user level, but as I said, the firmware is open source. You can dig right into the lines of code that are receiving the chunks of firmware over the air. You could send them over a wire to the other electron. You could find a way to do it, but there's not any easy just I'm handing it to you way. More questions?
What was the next step?
Oh, that's it. It was done.
Okay.
That was all. Thank you.
What other questions do we have? I think that's it. Thank you so much, Zach. It was really nice.
I apologize if that was a little scattered. I'm happy to talk to you
No, that was
afterwards.
great. I think that's exactly what everybody wanted. Am I right? Very cool. All right, so thank everyone for coming to Connected Devices. We hope to see you